and welcome to the special New Year's edition of the Business of Story. I'm your host, Park Howell, and I hope you are planning for some big things in 2024. And you know what? This is a great place to kick off your new year with my guest, Skot Waldron. He's going to share his new book called Unlocked, a 52-week guide for the intentional leader. You'll learn about Skot's proven approach to developing personal and professional leadership skills through his 52 micro actions that are quick to learn, easy to do, and surprisingly powerful. So settle in and enjoy this special edition of the Business of Story. If you want to advance your storytelling skills and those of your people in the new year, well, I'm here for you because effective leadership is driven by the powerful stories you tell. I provide in-person and hybrid mastery courses that teach your people how to use our 3 proven narrative frameworks to help them clarify their stories, amplify their impact, and ultimately simplify their lives. Iconic brands like Microchip, Walmart Canada, the Home Depot, Banner Health, the U.S. Air Force, and the University of Dayton Center for Leadership rely on the Business of Story training. With them, we develop a common storytelling language to build their internal storytelling culture, where all of their people become more clear, confident, and persuasive communicators using the emotional, meaning-making messaging that only true stories well told can accomplish. And I'd love to do the same for you. So please hit our contact page at businessofstory.com or shoot me a note directly to park@businessofstory.com. My goal, as always, is to help you and your people excel through the stories you all tell. In today's show, you'll see why storytelling is at the heart of effective leadership as Skot Waldron takes you through his new book that details 52 micro trainings to help you grow as an intentional leader.
And I always tell people, move from critique to curiosity. If I can move from pointing fingers to that person did that to me, that person did this, that person, I can't believe them, I can't believe they said that, and you're just constantly doing that all the time, there's no space for curiosity in your dialogue. What instead if I says, wow, what in the world is going on with them that would cause them to lash out at me like that? Whoa, because now my mindset is shifted completely. Now I'm trying to sympathize or maybe even empathize with that person. As soon as I start shifting my thought, I become empowered.
For the past 20 years, Skot has worked for clients such as JP Morgan Chase, CDC, Mount Sinai Hospital, Sesame Workshops, the Home Depot, and the Coca-Cola Company, which all include national and international communications programs designed by Skot and his team at Giant. Skot is a communication strategist who unlocks leaders by making sense of complex communication challenges through aha moments that enlighten and transform. Unlike most communication programs out there, Skot coaches leaders and employees to become liberators using programs that are simple, scalable, and sustainable for long-term growth. He believes your influence, alignment, and ability to execute all begin with you and how you communicate. What we're going to cover in this episode includes intentional leadership leads to intentional results. But guess what? Accidental leadership leads to accidental results. Knowing yourself better, loving yourself more, and leading yourself more intentionally will help you build more influence in your life, and why every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. So please welcome to this New Year's edition of the Business of Story, who's going to share with you his 52 micro actions to make your 2024 unbelievable, my good friend, Skot Waldron. Skot, welcome to the Business of Story, man. Great to have you here.
It is good to be here, man. You are the story master king, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be here.
Well, you and I had the unique opportunity to get acquainted just a couple of weeks ago in Annapolis at Sean Soth's and his team over there at PAR, Professional Force Association Revenue, and their RevUp conference. And I was blown away by your presentation and even more blown away by you in general. We got a chance to get acquainted the night before and had a great conversation, and how you have evolved from the creative design world, much like I evolved from the advertising, branding, marketing space into really coaching and helping leaders come into their own and have the impact in the world they seek. And you took us through an amazing session, and you had this terrific new book out that we're going to talk about in a minute here. But first, your backstory. How do you find yourself now in the international coaching world for intentional leadership?
Wow. Well, I wish my wife was as blown away with me as you are. So I really appreciate that, Park. No, I'm just kidding. She likes me. She likes me, man. I went to a design school here in Atlanta. 2002, I graduated from here, and it was the Portfolio Center at that time. Miami Ad School has purchased them since then. Now it's Miami Ad School, and got a wonderful opportunity up in Chicago. Moved up there, worked for a design firm up there. It was Samata Mason at the time, rebranded to Symbolic at some point in time. Then we became Multiple. We had some transitions happening. So that I worked up there for 7 years, and we got pregnant, said, you know what? We are not going to raise our kids here. It's cold, it's flat, it's expensive. And all of our family's in the South. So let's get out of here. We're leaving, guys. And they said, oh, that stinks. Well, you're going south. What are you going to do? And I was like, I'm probably just going to launch my own thing, because that's what we do as creatives, right? We like do stuff, and then we just launch stuff ourselves. And then and they said, well, if you're going to do that, why don't you just become managing partner and launch our Atlanta office? And I said, that's cool. Managing partner, I'll take that. And so came to Atlanta and launched our Atlanta office and grew that and scaled it. And 12 years later, still technically managing partner of the Atlanta office. Have not hung up that hat completely, but it has shifted from probably like I would say like 5% culture development and 95% design brand work to now 95% culture and 5% brand and design work. So it's taken a huge shift for sure.
I was wondering, what kind of design work did you do? You yourself and the overall firm. Is it logo design, ad design, a combination thereof, brand development?
Yeah, it was mostly, when I started, it was a ton of corporate communications work. We did annual report work for companies all over the place, Swiss Army, Sesame Workshop, and just kind of a lot of the corporate work, Royal Caribbean, and did a lot of that. And we did do got more into doing more digital and as a lot of companies did at the time. So we did more digital work, and then became more overall brand strategy work. So taking bigger picture and then executing where we need to execute. So corporate communications kind of went a little bit, it became less of what we did. And then it became more bigger brand strategy and execution in that realm, all different facets of what that was. We did the brand strategy or the brand guidelines for, we did that for Sesame Workshop. We did that for Jones Lang LaSalle. We did that for PGA Tour. So we did some of that work, and that was a lot of fun. Really, really loved it. Loved the people I worked with, and just did some great stuff. And coming here in Atlanta and doing my own thing with the help of those guys in our office in Vancouver, it was a growth period for sure.
And do you think your evolution into culture really came out of a lot of that corporate communications work? Because so much of that is really culture driven, whether or not they've actually built that culture internally, but from a brand design writing standpoint, we as the agencies really need to bring that sense of personality and culture to those communications, whether they've got it there or not, right?
I wish I could say yes, but it was not that at all, Park.
No.
It was like, it was, and I don't know if you feel me here. and all the other creative people out there, where you are working with clients, whoever they may be, and it's kind of a mess. Let's just call it what it is. There's a little bit of there's turnover in the marketing team or whoever's going there, and then they're taking direction from up top, or maybe there's a new CEO in place and they have a new vision for what they're going to do, and then now the VP of marketing or whoever is coming to us and saying, "Hey, we got to change what we're doing." And I'm saying, "Whoa, wait a second. We've been spending like a year and a half building this thing and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you want to switch it now?" Because and they're like, "Yeah." I'm just going, wow, we got to like something's going on here. So yes, it affects us on the tail end because we become the messengers downstream who all of a sudden have to do something with the mess that's been created internally. And that miscommunication inside, that misalignment caused a lot of stress and turmoil on our side. And then we're put in a position to like, well, do we make them pay us more money but I feel weird because now, and it's like this weird predicament that we get put in. I was speaking at an event with a guy, and I was speaking on, I was doing some digital strategy speech at the time, and he was speaking on leadership. And we were speaking to a room full of entrepreneurs. And after the presentation, he came up to me and he goes, "Hey, I need some help with some work that I'm doing. I'm creating a new product. I need some brand help, some strategy background, and some messaging and some things for that. Can you help me out?" And I said, "Sure." And he said, "Hey, I'll trade you. I'm starting a leadership cohort, and you can jump in on that. It's a year-long program. You jump in on that, and we'll just trade." And I said, "Well, that leadership stuff is like for the suits. That's a corporate thing." Because I'd worked with the John Maxwell Company here in Atlanta. Some of you know that company, and then like the other corporate people that I worked with, they do leadership stuff. We're a cool like culture place. Like we're a design firm. We're cool and hip. Like everybody wants to come work for us because we're cool. And everybody liked me as a leader, and I liked them as employees. And I had people cry when they came into my office because they didn't want to leave. And I was like, "Spread your wings, little bird. Go fly. Do your thing." You're right. Like we all loved each other. So I said, "I'll jump in on your leadership cohort. I'll see what it is." So I get in there, 2 months into this program, my mind exploded. And I said, what in the world? I help people communicate. Like I help companies communicate. That's my job, is to help them communicate the solution to a problem. And I've been doing that for a long time. And I realized I was a horrible communicator myself. Like I had this, I was like, wow, like I'm causing some problem. Like my people love me and I love them, but there's some inefficiencies, and probably the reason my company did not grow as much as it could have. It grew and I was really proud of it. But the reason it didn't grow as much as it could have is because of me, because of my lack of self-awareness and my inability to lead effectively, 100% effectively as I could have, because I didn't understand who I was. And that's where it switched in my brain, where I said, this has made me a better dad. This has made me a better brother, a better son, a better boss, a better everything. And if I can do this for the people I serve, how much easier will it be for us as designers to design stuff on the tail end? Let me fix you on the inside. Fix you. I don't like that term. Let me help work with you on the inside, and then we'll be able to execute on the outside so much easier. So that's what I ended up doing. And like I said, it's just taken a shift because of, I don't know, the culture work has just been so powerful and transformative for people.
Yeah. Well, we've been on a similar tack then, because I come from it, from the branding world like you, but I'm not a designer. I'm a writer by trade. I've learned from some really good designers, and I can hold my own for silly little all headline ads, without a lot of animation and graphics to it. But I found the same thing back in the late 2000 aughts. We were doing these brand story development, brand work for customers, and we started with really messed up cultures. And I didn't really realize that was our job, to help them fix their culture, until I started studying the hero's journey and story structure and whatever, and saying, look, if we are helping them author their brand story, then we need to dive deep. First, into what is this story and can the culture really back it up? And you probably experienced the same thing, is you would typically find that North Star for the culture. You go, if they just did this, they would really have something. But you would have to show it to them almost like a sociologist or psychologist and say, you get this, right? You're saying this, but you're really about this. And then once you get them to buy into it, it's your job to help them articulate what that story is and get them to buy into that culture story before you can really create a significant brand around it. You, it sounds like, came at it from the design perspective, the visual perspective, and I simply come at it from the writing content perspective in that respect, but they're the same thing, essentially.
Totally. It was that light bulb, right? That light bulb that went off. It was just like, there's something deeper here. And I know that you do that same thing. I've seen you work, and I've seen you work with people in a live atmosphere, and you're digging. And I think that that's what we do as creatives when we're solving, we're looking for the gold in there, and we're fishing for it, and we're trying to help coach it. We are coaches. And I don't know, designers and creatives don't necessarily call themselves that, but we are coaching clients all the time. We're asking questions, looking for that nugget. And when we find it, that's when we go, there it is. And they go, and then we present something to them and they go, you nailed it. That's so good. How did you do that? We're like, you said it. You said it, not me. And that's the brilliance. When we realize who we are as creatives, that we are those coaches, that we are coaching people through their own problems. And we aren't experts in their field necessarily, but we come in as experts at what we do and help them come up with that. So I think that light bulb moment, it sounds like you had the same thing. It was just like,
yeah. Totally was.
Cool.
Clients, once I really started rolling out these frameworks, would say, can you come and train us how to do this? This stuff's amazing. And so I did. It became an actual additional service the agency offered that we could make money on, but we're also making a stronger, better communicating client so that our campaigns would have that much more impact. And I had so much pushback from competitive agencies, other agency owners that I knew that were, friends of mine and whatever, and told them what we were doing. And they were like, well, why would you teach them and train them how to do it? Aren't you afraid that they'll just take all their work and bring it in-house? And I go, no, they won't, because you need that outside vision looking in. You need to be out there pushing them, not always agreeing with them, and holding them accountable for what they're doing. So I found just the exact opposite happen. It was an agency builder. It never, ever got in the way of our work or our billings.
Amen. Michael Jordan could learn to play basketball by himself. Sure. He could probably learn something, but professional athletes have coaches for a reason. And they have that outside perspective, that person to keep them accountable. And that person who maybe isn't necessarily as good at basketball as they are, because that's their thing. Maybe they were at one point in time, but their thing now is to coach, guide, structure, accountability, be that outside voice and shape that perception. I think that's exactly what we're doing now.
Yeah. So what was the impetus for your new book, Unlocked? The 52-week guide for the intentional leader. So people stop winging it and start winning with your leadership skills.
Yeah, here's my thing. The past several years I've been doing this now. I'm going in and coaching leaders, whether it is one-on-one executive type coaching, whether it's team development or just people managers, and understanding the way people are, and especially in the corporate space. And I read a ton of leadership books. I'm always searching, I'm just trying to understand the insights out there and who's saying what and doing what, and what I can gather to help my people based on the things that I'm learning as well. And what I'll generally look at are leadership books that are pretty dense, whether it's research based. Adam Grant's stuff is brilliant, but it's very research heavy. He comes from that, educational background and scholar background, and he has a ton of beautiful work in there. And I read these things like this, and I'm like, okay, this is great. This is great. And then I go, okay, now what? Like, what do I do with this thing? And there's principles out of that, and I can gather some things, and it shapes my mindset. But that's just the beginning, I feel. I feel like without application, there's no transformation. Information is amazing. Inspiration, amazing. But without the application, there is no transformation. We all want transformation in our lives, just as, the hero's journey. The hero wants to be a better version of themselves by the end of the story. And they usually are, because of the journey they've been on. And that's what we want. But there's got to be the journey in the middle, and you've got to take the steps. So my book was for my clients who were very time poor. They were strapped. They're getting up at 6:30 to check email before, their kids go off to school. And then they're, up until 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, going through emails because they didn't have time during the day because they're in meetings all day. And I'm going, wow. So when do you have time to work on yourself? And they're going, I don't know, like not a lot. And I said, okay. So here's the book. The book is, you can read each chapter, which is really a week. It's 52 weeks. Do you have to read this? And this is not a book, Park, that you're going to get a blanket. You're going to get all up in your Snuggie and you're going to get your hot chocolate by the fire and read it for like 3 hours. No, please don't do that. Like, I do not want you to do that with this book. This is a book where you take about 5 to 10 minutes at the beginning of your week, you pop it open, you read an inspirational thought, some commentary from me, which is probably maybe a full page. And then there's some prompts. There's maybe 2 or 3 questions it's going to ask you. And you're going to make a commitment to work on that thing during the week. You're going to work on it. And then at the end of the week, you are going to reflect back on that thing and go, did I accomplish that thing I wanted to work on? If I didn't, why not? What was the tendency? And that's what I really want you to understand, is your tendency either preventing you from accomplishing that thing, or the thing that was even making it hard for you to accomplish. Maybe you did accomplish it, but there was still the tendency popping up that was saying there was that roadblock that you had to overcome. That's where the intentionality comes in. Without intentionality, we will fall to the roadblock. Like, the roadblock will stop us because it's accidental. It's really easy to move away from the roadblock, or the roadblock there. We go, oh, it's a roadblock. I'm done. But intentionality says, roadblock, okay, I got to jump over that thing, or I got to move around it, or I just got to move it over, or I got to ask somebody else for help to get over this roadblock. Like, I don't know how to get over it, but somebody else can help me. So I think that there's a lot of context that goes around that. So it was really about the time poor leader that wants to make incremental steps throughout their leadership journey. And I promise people that if they read this, like, if you just do parts of it, man, like, you will be a better person.
Well, and I looked at it, and I take it really is only going to take you about 10 or 15 minutes every Monday to read the chapter and apply the work in the exercise you have there. And then you're going to think about it and hopefully activate it all week long. And then at the end of that week, go back and check in and see how you did. And then the next Monday, you do the same thing. And I mean, it's not very onerous. Talking about being very time sensitive, the way you deliver the content seems to be very time sensitive.
It is. And I know that people, because this happens when I'm coaching my clients, I will have them just say, hey, schedule 15 minutes. And they'll go, I didn't do it. When I follow up with them, I just didn't do the 15 minutes. I'm like, 15 minutes? Like, okay, so it's not the time that's the problem, because 15 minutes is, you've spent 15 minutes, I don't know,
scrolling through Instagram.
That too. Or sitting in the bathroom too long. You've spent 15 minutes doing something that you didn't necessarily have to be doing. Yeah. So what is it really that's keeping you from doing it? So a lot of time it's accountability, which I know is another issue that people will say with this book. It's like, they fall off the wagon because there's no accountability, which is why people hire coaches. That's why in the first chapter of the book, I cite 2 studies that talk about accountability and why I want you to have an accountability partner. I pressure you at the beginning, the intro, to get an accountability partner to go on this journey with you. Because the two studies, one is from a theory called the tend to befriend theory. The tend to befriend theory talks about the idea that during stressful, hard times, that people, generally more so women than men, rally together. They support each other. They build community around each other. And what happens is that when you have somebody who's like-minded, when you have somebody who's in the same boat as you are, there is some camaraderie, there's some understanding, there's some support, there's some empathizing or sympathizing with those people. So that's the first thing, is that I feel your struggle. I know this is hard to read every Monday at 15 minutes. I get it. So people are with you. The other thing, there was a group of researchers in Virginia, and they found that when somebody was standing looking at a hill alone, a hill looked 20% steeper than it did with somebody standing next to them who's going to climb it with them. 20% steeper. If somebody is standing there next to you, going up this mountain together, it is going to look a little bit easier. It's not going to be easy, but it will look a little bit easier. And that comfort, that guidance is really what we need. And so I challenge people to find that accountability partner, whether it's a spouse, a friend, a colleague. I've had people buy these books for their teams, so everybody in the team is going through it. I mean, you have team meetings every week anyway. Why not take 15 minutes out of your team meeting and everybody share their commitment? That's it. Mm-hmm. And then build some camaraderie around that. So it's a great tool for that too.
What are some of your favorite tips that you share, or exercises, I should really call them, that you share in your book?
So the book is built into 3 main sections. So the first section is all about knowing yourself. It's about self-awareness. Are there prompts to understand my tendencies more? The second section of the book is about loving yourself more. And I'm not saying like stare in the mirror, Stuart Smalley, say nice things to yourself. I'm talking like appreciate what you bring to the table. What are the things that you're awesome at and that you can have confidence in? And then the last section is about leading yourself intentionally. So know, love, lead. And those are the 3 main sections of the book. And you're going to evaluate yourself at periodic stages during the book. There's a couple little tools I'll give you to evaluate where you are, because I want you to track your progress. I want you to see the growth that you've made. At the beginning of in the Know Yourself section, there's a quote here that says, if you're comfortable all the time, then you're probably mediocre. The comfort zone is lined with defensiveness and excuses for why you should be there. So again, that's the quote. So if people are watching this, you see the quote here, and then there's some commentary right here, right? Mm-hmm. So what happens is you just read this commentary, you understand a little bit more of that. And then the prompt here is, in which areas of your life have you been confining yourself to the comfort zone? What are you going to do to step out of that comfort zone? So I want you to think, where have I been too comfortable with my business? Where have I been too comfortable with my family? Where have I been too comfortable with my community? Where have I been too comfortable? And we don't like to step out of comfort. We love comfort.
It's a survival mechanism.
Complete survival. And we talked about that at PAR. It's there. It's there for a reason. And then I say, when are you going to take action? Those are the 2 prompts. Where are you most comfortable, and what are you going to do to step out of that this week? And when are you going to do it? And then I have you report it to somebody. And then at the end of the week, it's what tendencies made you want to step back into your comfort zone? What was that tendency that just made you want to just go, I don't like this. This is uncomfortable. This person might not like me because I'm doing something that I don't think, or maybe I'm afraid I have imposter syndrome, or what is that tendency of yours that's causing you to revert back to where you were? So that's the Know Yourself. They all have things like that are elements of it.
Well, and the one that struck me when I was going through this in the Know Yourself, week 10, about being a victim. Victims always need a villain, that you write there. And I want to read just a little bit from this, because it seems to me that it's this victim mindset that holds so many people back. And essentially, they're giving away their agency to the problem. It's someone else's problem. It's someone else's fault versus just opening it. And you write your inspiration in here. And I just like the way you spelled this out. You said, the victim mentality is ripe with defensiveness. Victims want to hide. Victims tend to complain a lot. Victims have a negative mentality. Victims will take things from the past and use them to justify their behavior now. Have you met someone like this? Or have you perhaps glimpsed shades of this within yourself? I know I have. When things get down, I'm like, oh, poor me. And then I'm going, nope, wait, I'm probably the cause of it. Let me figure out what's going on. Finally, you right here, falling prey to a victim mentality can cripple your capacity to grow and thrive. And I honestly cannot agree with that more. And how do you help people get out of this mentality when you find them in it?
First of all, it is about this. What do victims do? Victims seek comfort and shelter. They build defensive walls around themselves to protect themselves because they have felt attacked. Rightly or wrongly so, they have felt attacked, which is why they feel victims. And so they are going to build up walls around themselves to protect themselves against the attack to happen even more. And what happens when we have walls around ourselves? People don't get in. So the bad people don't get in, but also the good people don't get in. But nothing gets out as well. So we aren't able to share ideas. We hold them all in. So then we aren't collaborating and we aren't adding to the team or adding value to the people around us. And all of a sudden it becomes a little bit of this self-fulfilling prophecy. No longer do people just see us as only the person who whines and cries all the time because, you know, it's them again. Like, oh no, that they've closed their door and now they're all sad and now they're all like taking it this way or that way. But now they're also not adding any value because they're just locked away out of self-preservation. You know, this whole idea of self-preservation be a good thing, but it also can be a very bad thing. Now, I don't want to take away and I don't want to ignore the fact that there are true victims out there. There are people that have been victims of very poor behavior, whether it's personal or professional, that I do not want to ignore. There's trauma that comes from that, which is probably another reason why some people feel like they're victims a lot. Maybe they've been a true victim in the past and they're very sensitive to certain behaviors now. And when certain things happen, it triggers something and they immediately resort to this self-preservation mode. And not saying it's right, and I'm not necessarily saying it's wrong, but it's not helpful. And what we need to do is understand where that comes from. So I'm not a therapist. I am not licensed to do therapy. My wife's always like, be careful what you do. And I'm just like, you know, sometimes my clients call me a corporate communication therapist. I'm like, no. I'm not a therapist. I'm a coach. But it's helpful to understand where that comes from so that we can coach you in the here and now, right? What are those tendencies around you? How do you own it so that then you can do something with it? Because you're right. As soon as we start calling ourselves victims, we start giving somebody else all the power and we sit back and just become reactionary, not proactive in our behavior and what we can do about it.
And you're not contributing your gifts to the better cause, the greater good, because you're sucked back into your tortoise shell playing the victim. Let me read another one here and then explain it for us. Week 12, anger is a great starter, but a horrible finisher. What's that about?
And this was something where I changed my mindset about this a little while back. I was just like, gosh, why are there so many angry people? Like, anger is just, it's not healthy. Why can't we just, love and get along? And yeah, we can have issues with something, but like, anger is not the way that we're going to help these things. And so I had this mentality of like, anger is bad. Don't be angry. But what I saw in, things, and I'll just say in my personal sphere, my wife has been angry about certain situations, whether it's culture and whether it's just society as a whole. And I'm sitting there going, gosh, you know what? That is so justified. Like, there is a right to be, you should be angry. That should hurt. That hurts. That should hurt you. And sometimes when we get hurt, we get sad, but sometimes we get angry too. And anger is just an emotion, and it's just a thing. And that anger, what do we do with it though? Because at times I'm a problem solver and a coach. So sometimes I got to remember that when I'm talking to my wife. Because sometimes I'll sit there and go, okay, so stop complaining about it. What are you going to do about it? Stop complaining about it. What are you going to do about it? I'm always kind of on that front, but I've tried to be more sensitive about it. Not like dismissing your anger and just get on with it. What are you going to do about it? You know, but giving people a place to be angry and a space to be angry, it's a great starter because it fuels so much passion and ideas. When people aren't angry enough, nothing changes, right? It's just one mode. Dissatisfaction, we call it dissatisfaction. When people are dissatisfied enough, nothing changes. Well, that dissatisfaction can look like anger. It can look like sadness. It can look like frustration. It can look like whatever. But in this case, we're talking that anger can be a spark for action. And that's what's great. Now, I don't want you to end angry. I don't want anger to like be the whole reason of your existence, because then just nobody wants to be around you. But let's use it as the fuel to get us started, and then let's bridge the gap to where we all want to go and where we all want to be.
Well, and you're venting anger at a problem or a perceived problem that you have. And you and I, in our branding marketing worlds, have always about problem solution dynamic, right? So recognize the anger, recognize the problem, and let that be the instigation for the solution, the positive outcome, how you can overcome that.
And I think that another thing I point out in here in the book, and it's one of the application items to this, where I'm asking you some questions and prompts, is what's one action you can take to be more curious about that? And I always tell people, move from critique to curiosity. Critique to curiosity. This goes with the victim mindset. This goes with the anger mindset of, if I can move from pointing fingers to that person did that to me, that person did this, that person, I can't believe them, I can't believe they said that, and you're just constantly doing that all the time, there's no space for curiosity in your dialogue. What instead if I said, wow, what in the world is going on with them that would cause them to lash out at me like that? Whoa, because now my mindset is shifted completely. Now I'm trying to sympathize or maybe even empathize with that person. I have no idea what's going on with them. They have no idea what's going on with me. And as soon as I start shifting my thought, it could have been totally unjustified and completely wrong on their standpoint. But as soon as I start shifting, I become empowered. Instead of saying, poor me, or gosh, that makes me mad, and just reacting, now I've become more empowered because I'm more in control and I'm responding as opposed to reacting. So now I'm not going, that's it. That's the last time you're doing this to me. And I just go off on it. I'm going, whoa, hold on. Can we take a break here? And then come back and go, what was going on with you? I've never, I've seen you lash out at me a few times now, and I don't understand what's going on. I'd love to understand what's happening in your world.
So you move from judgment to understanding. And our judgment can so often be wrong. We take the wrong actions. We say the wrong things versus taking a breath and going, wait, let me understand what's actually happening in their world. And then, using that curiosity to move on.
It becomes less about us and it's more about everybody.
Yep.
Because when it's, you did this to me, it's me. Self-preservation is all about me. It's all about my survival. What am I going to do to survive? And if that means I step over you to get, away from that tiger, that's what's going to happen. But when I ask questions, I start becoming curious. It becomes about us. How do we mend this bridge together as opposed to just making sure that I'm not hurt anymore?
Yeah. Okay, let's move into the woo-woo section of your book, or what some people might think of, the love quotient,
Yes.
right?
Yes, I love it.
Week 20, you have in
Okay.
here, to deepen your love and acceptance of another, first, develop love and acceptance for yourself. And believe me, I've done enough work in the big brand world that you're talking to very serious leaders, and you must have some of them saying, come on, Scott, what's all this lovey-dovey stuff?
Yeah, there is a lot of that, and I'm kind of going. Again, I'm not going to get everybody to stand up in my keynotes and give themselves hugs and whatever, but we've heard it our whole lives, in a state of, if you can't love yourself, how are you going to love someone else? And people are going, well, I totally can love somebody else and totally beat up on myself. And I think there's some truth to that, but we can only give what we truly possess. If I am only at, let's just say, and I'll tell this to the leaders I coach and some of the people managers, if you are completely burnt out, if you are super stressed, if you are not sleeping well, if you are fatigued, if you're not eating right, and if you've got these deadlines looming, and you're only working at 50% capacity because now you're spread thin, you're distributed all over the place. How are you going to give 100% to your family when you get home? Are you going to give 100% when you're 50% everywhere else in your life? No, because you're only running on 50%. You don't all of a sudden get a recharge battery when you get home. No, it doesn't happen. So if I can't only have a 50% capacity to understand who I am, love what I bring to the table, appreciate that, stop comparing myself to everybody else and going, I wish I was more like that, or I wish I could do that better, or I wish that, and it's just that constant yearning for something else. There's going to be a problem. You're never going to be able to give everything that you need to the people that deserve it most, when I can't value the thing that I have and take care of myself the most. And this goes with a lot of the people I'm coaching, especially the people that are givers, people that completely sacrifice their own well-being and their own comfort for the comfort of others. We know these people. My mom is this person, will do anything for anybody all the time. And it's glorious, but it's also annoying, because I sit there and look at it and go, holy moly, will you please tell me what you want for once? What do you want? And it's yeah, just to make us happy. But yeah, I get that, Mom. But please, what do you want? And what are you great at? And she's like, oh, I don't know. Let's not talk about me. And I'm like, yo, let's talk about you. And they're always deflecting. Don't deflect. Embrace, accept, and that's where we got to go. So it's this whole thing about appreciating who we are. We call it loving yourself. Just appreciate yourself. Let's just call it that then. We don't have to get too woo-woo.
All right, let's move into your third section on leadership. In week 40, you say, don't just look back, reach back. What do you mean by that?
This was taken from a podcast guest that I had on. His name's Alex Tremble. And so some of the quotes in here are attributed to people. You'll see people in here. Alex, you're probably not going to know. He was on my show a long time ago. I just recently had a conversation with him. We were collaborating on a few things. But I talk about, the whole book. It has this, mountain motif on the front. And we talk in Giant, who's the company I'm affiliated with, we used a lot of the content and tools from Giant. We talk about being a Sherpa leader. And a Sherpa is a people group, and they're born at a certain altitude. And their job is to take people up Everest. And they're acclimated already at this altitude. If I'm coming up to a Sherpa and I want to climb Everest, and I've spent $100,000 getting there, and I've spent a year training, and I get there and I have this tiny window to actually climb Everest. And I come up to my Sherpa and I'm like, you my Sherpa? And they're like, yeah, I'm your Sherpa. And I'm like, cool, let's go climb Everest. We get up there to base camp and they start traversing the mountain, and they're I don't know, 100 yards up ahead of me. And they keep looking back going, what's your problem? Can you please hurry up? And they're yelling at me the whole time. And I don't know how to get over this ice, Kumba ice fall thing I'm supposed to climb. And like, I'm stepping over crevasses. I don't know how to do this. And they're just yelling at me all the time from the top. Not helpful. The true Sherpa is the person who can climb the mountain. Yes, they're good. I know how good you are, Sherpa, at climbing the mountain. I get it. Can you please help me climb the mountain too? That's what's going to make a true Sherpa. And when that Sherpa goes back and helps me climb the mountain, that's where the strength comes in. So real leaders, they don't just look back, they reach back. Despite their own comfort, despite their own impatience or their own whatever it's going to take. It's that annoying thing. I help this person all the time. This person wants to climb Everest all the time and they're not ready. I don't know why they keep asking me to do it. And you know that person? Well, you got to keep going back. You keep going back and you have those hard conversations or you do what you need to do. But that's part of it. That's a big piece of what leadership is.
How much of your design background do you feel like has informed you to help design better leaders?
There is another thing in the lead section in week 42 when you get to, and by the way, I want you to sequentially go through these. Ideally, that's the way I built it, or at least spend some time in the know, then love, then lead. Honestly, you can jump around and just pick the ones you want to work on. I think they'll all help you in one way, shape, or form. But there is a section in week 42, and there's a quote by Dr. John Gottman, or a principle by Dr. John Gottman. You know, John, have you heard of John Gottman?
I have not, no.
He is in the marriage and relationship therapist space. Really, really brilliant guy. Did a study with a group of married couples where he had them come sit in a room and he observed them and speaking on a contentious topic. And he would observe them for about, I think it was 15 minutes. And he was able to determine, and he analyzed a bunch of couples over the course of this thing. I think it was with 95% accuracy or so, who was going to be divorced and who wasn't, just based on their interactions with each other. And the ratio, what he did was he determined the ratio of positive to negative comments. I'm getting to your answer in a second here. Positive to negative interactions or comments that they shared. The people who got divorced had a whacked out ratio. 1N equals 5P. One for every negative comment that said, you need 5 positive ones to negate that negative one. So this is a marriage and therapy lesson for all of you out there. You're welcome. But this is also a brand lesson. And when I was doing a lot of brand strategy work and doing speaking about brand and how do we as companies make sure we're taking care of our customers, well, do you think that if Delta loses my bag and then it's this huge problem getting my bag back, now they've lost it, they don't know where it is, and all these things are happening, that I'm all of a sudden going to have a great feeling about Delta? Probably not. I'm probably going to be disgruntled. It's probably going to take Delta 5 more positive interactions to actually negate that negative interaction of losing my bag. So when I talked about brand strategy and customer service and how do we build brand loyalty with our customers, all I've done is taken that to the internal side and now the internal space. If I say, as a leader, what are the interactions you're having with your people, your team members? For every negative interaction you have with a team member, you better believe it's going to take at least 5 to negate that experience. Whether it was you lashed out at them in a meeting, you didn't trust them with something, you're micromanaging over and over again. Those negative interactions are all withdrawals from our brand bank account, and it's going to bankrupt us at some point in time. So brand strategy, culture, it's all the same thing, man.
Yeah, and I love that term, your brand bank account. It's the first time I heard it is when I was listening to you in Annapolis, taking us through your training. And you're so right. We make these small little micro deposits of positivity in our bank account so that when, inevitably something is going to go sideways on us or we're going to have an upset customer or a colleague, that we have enough of a brand bank account built up that we can quickly overcome it and continue to contribute to that bank account. I think there's a Polynesian quote that says, "Trust grows like a palm tree and falls like a coconut."
Wow.
And I thought that's so true. I co-opted that for Northern Arizona because I live in the pines. So I say trust grows like a ponderosa pine, but falls like a pine cone. And so you've got to have that bank account built up, right? To keep that trust and lead.
You do. And then we sit there and we complain because, I did something wrong. I came and I apologized. Can we just move on? Like, can we just go now? Like I said, I was sorry. And they're going, no, it's just, that's the reason why it just doesn't feel right. It's kind of based on this theory of 1n equals 5p. I mean, it's a rough ratio. You don't have to like keep a tally chart or anything. Some of you may want to keep a tally chart, but it's that idea of, it's going to take some time to dig out of that hole a little bit. And it's going to take more effort to make up for the thing that we probably shouldn't have done in the first place. So let's just be intentional about the thing we're doing in the first place. And that's why I think this book is it's so easy and it's so intentionally written this way so that people can get some insights, quick inspiration, quick application, and then move on to the transformation. Now, are you gonna transform your life in 1 week? I don't know. Like, it probably won't happen, but that's why it's the millions of micro moments that really will drive that transformation over time. It's not going to be that grandiose moment. It's probably going to be the millions of micro moments that you have in your life that are going to drive it over time.
Hey, and it's New Year's. So what better time than now to kick off your book, Unlocked?
Boom. That's what it's for, man. That's what it's for. I wanted to get it out before Christmas, and I wanted to get it out for this time of year when people are going, okay, I want to be a better this. I want to do this better. I want to do that more. I want to do this. Now, there was a statistic, Strava, the exercising app, and cyclists use it, runners use it, and things like that to track their workouts. So I'll use it as well. They did some research, and they were trying to understand. They see a huge spike at the beginning of the year when people downloading Strava, wanting to log on, create new accounts. And do you know the week where they experienced the most drop off? Guess.
Valentine's Day.
Wow. You were so generous. No, it was like the second Friday of January. They said,
we're out of here.
They said, we're done. The second Friday of January, Strava sees a huge drop off in activity from people, that people are just going, never mind. I didn't really mean that I wanted to do that thing. And, with goals, with what we do, with the thing we want to be better at, like, let's just take the baby steps. That's what it's about. Like, slow down. And it's the idea of the tortoise and the hare. And I got that principle from John Acuff, who wrote a book, All It Takes Is a Goal. And that's another one you should read at New Year's. It's a really easy read. And John's a beautiful author. I quote him in the book a few times too. But it's that idea of the rabbit and the hare, the tortoise and the hare, that we all jump out of the gate of New Year's like we want to just run like the rabbit. Like, I'm on fire. We're going to win this race. We're going to conquer it. We're going to crush it. Everybody, let's go. What does the tortoise do? The tortoise just goes. Tortoise just steady, slow and steady. The hare sprints, falls asleep. Sprints, falls asleep. And that's what we do. New Year's comes around, we sprint, and then we fall off at week 2 of January. Then we go, okay, shake it off, sprint, crash again. Like, we do this. And then we go, never mind. And then we go, yeah, I did this last year. And I did this the year before that. And I did this year before that. So what do we become? We become traitors to ourselves. We let ourselves down over and over and over again. So now I don't trust myself anymore. When I say I'm going to do something, I'm that person who doesn't keep commitments. And so now I don't trust myself to do it anymore. So now we're beating ourselves up. So this book is made for that small intentional step every week that you can make, that everybody can do. It holds your hand through it. And that's why I wrote it.
Well, and the argument is it takes 6 to 8 weeks of intentional deliberate practice to build a habit. So it's no big surprise that someone signs up for a gym membership and bails 2 weeks in. They haven't built the habit yet. And what it feels like you've built with your book, Unlocked, is just this simple, quick little habit of self-assessment, trying a few things out during the week, and then, recalling, did it work? Did it not work? And then you move on to the next thing. But you build this habit of leadership and personal development over the course of 52 weeks. And like you say, these micro moments or these micro steps. Yep.
That's it, man. That's it.
Yeah. Well, you were obviously born to do this because you were born Skot, Skott Waldron, right? And you took it upon yourself as a kid to change the spelling of your name?
I know. I wasted all that time in school. I just could have gone into brand strategy way early on in my career, and I didn't. So, yeah, 6th grade, I got tired of being the third Scott W in all my classes, and I had to put Skot Waldron on all my papers, right? So elementary school was torturous. My hand got really tired, and then in 6th grade, I said, I'm done with this. So I spelled it Skot, and I never put my last name on anything ever again. And it just stuck because I was the artsy fartsy kid. So it just stuck. And now people just know me that way. So it just, I grow. And then my mom still spells it Scottie, like Scotty, she puts it on my birthday cards and stuff. So she can own it that way. But
so
that's the way it is.
There's Adele, there's Beyonce, there's Oprah, and there's Scott. The one word.
Yes, that's it. It's Scott, and next it's going to be a symbol, like Prince did. He went to a symbol. I'm eventually going to get there. I'm not quite there yet, but one day.
I was going to say, have you designed that symbol yet?
No, I haven't. I'm waiting for AI to get a little more sophisticated so I can just ask
you're going to mid-journey it. Is that it?
That's what I'm going to do. Mid-journey. That's what I do. Design me a plumber logo with Scott in it, and that's what it's going to be. Yeah.
All right. Well, Skot, thank you for taking the time to be here. Where can people get your book? I know it's been available for free some places. I don't know if it still is or not.
It is, I don't know. It's on Kindle Unlimited for free. So if you have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, you can get it for free. But otherwise, it's anywhere you buy books. It just released last week at all the other bigger stores, Target, Walmart's, Barnes and Nobles, all those places. So you can get it anywhere you buy books. But my favorite place is Amazon because the algorithm Amazon monster likes to be fed. So if you want to buy it from there, super cool. It's the same price everywhere. So just buy it wherever you need to buy books, and leave a review, please. I love those. I love to hear them. I love to read them. Even the nasty ones. I don't show my mom those. I just show her the good ones. So.
All right, folks, check it out. Unlocked, a 52-week guide for the intentional leader. And what better time than right now to start your 52-week journey of self-assessment to become that leader you can be out there. So, man, thanks so much for being here. It was great meeting you a couple weeks ago, and I just appreciate your availability of coming onto the show.
Park, you do some great work, man. I loved hearing you talk, and I got your little, where is it? My little book here, my What's Your Story book.
What's Your Story field guide, yeah.
My What's Your Story field guide, and I have been using it. So I love the formulaic idea behind this, and it's super smart. So praise you for all you're doing, and keep doing it, man.
Oh, thank you. Hey, can I put you on the hot seat for a second?
Whoa.
And by the way, I loved your line about don't build a fire under people, build a fire within people to get them going. So I'm going to build a fire under you to build that fire inside of you. I'm going to put you on the hot seat. You went through the ABT training, and you're a designer, so I imagine it landed with you fairly quickly. What is your ABT statement for your book?
Okay, I'm going to cheat a little bit because I'm trying to wordsmith it. I change my stuff all the time, which is my problem. I change it all the time. Liberating leaders, they want the best for their people. And they know that leadership is a journey, not a destination. Okay, there's the first
statement of agreement and statement of agreement.
Okay, and you can coach me on this if you want to. But so many have demands placed upon them by others, and time becomes a scarce resource. actual insights, they become daunting. Big books and leadership books and seminars become just time sucks. Okay. Maybe that's the but statement. Yeah.
But statement of contradiction.
This is why I wrote the book the way I did. Short, actionable steps anyone can take to level up their leadership in about 10 minutes a week.
Beautiful. That
I don't know, man.
Nice work.
Shape it.
Nice work.
Shape it. What do you think?
As a dynamic leader, you know the old axiom of time is money, but you waste so much time and lose so much money to inefficient processes that suck the life out of you and your business. Therefore, imagine in small little micro steps becoming that intentional, proven leader through my new book, Unlocked. The 52-week guide for the intentional leader.
Oh, man, that's why you are the king. You are the king, Park.
I don't know if that's any good, but there's the framework.
Dude, where were you when I was running my agency? Like, could you please not be on the West Coast anymore and just come hang out with me on the East Coast so that we can, change the advertising design world forever?
Well, here's the deal. I will be in Atlanta January 19th for a big keynote presentation. If you happen to be around town, I haven't booked my flight yet. I'll come in a little bit early. And if you've got time for dinner the night before that or lunch the day before that, let's get together.
It's a deal. You got it, man.
All right.
Seriously, I'm committing on the show right now to do that. Unless, I break my leg. Even if I break my leg, I'll probably show up. So you got it, man.
Well, and I've got someone else, Brian Burkhart, who will be with me. He's the gentleman bringing me into Atlanta to work with one of his clients that he would love to meet you and you would love to meet him. And who knows, he might have a speaking gig or two for you as well around your new book and your training. So let's do that. We'll make that happen.
All right, Park. You got it, man.
All right, Scott. Have a great one and a Happy New Year.
You too, buddy.
To close our show, I'm going to take a page out of Scott's book. In fact, it's page 210, which kicks off week 45 of his 52-week micro-learning program. The headline reads, "The amount of effort you put into someone is directly tied to your belief in them." Well, there's a lot of effort that goes into bringing you this show every week because we believe in you. So I'd like to thank Caden Howell for his tireless editing, Marissa Hill for her incredible community development and marketing over the years, and the amazing composing talents of Darius Holbert, who produces our music. Next week, because we believe in you, we are going to bring you sales coach extraordinaire Bob Berg, who's known as the Go-Giver. We will explore Bob's famous sales sentiment that goes like this, quote, "All things being equal, people buy from and refer to people they know, like, and trust." I'm going to show you how to activate your business storytelling flywheel so that you will become well-known, even more liked than you already are, and become the trusted leader in your field. You're not going to want to miss that show. And until then, I want you to remember that the most potent story you'll ever tell is the story you tell yourself. So make that one epic. Thanks so much for listening, and Happy New Year.